back to this week's episode of the C-Town Podcast, where Seattle business owners, entrepreneurs, and community leaders are invited on to share their stories with us. Well, thank you for joining me today, Matt. Today, my guest is the owner of QED Coffee. They have a location in Mount Baker neighborhood and a new one just here in West Seattle. So I'm friends with Jason Van Husen, who I guess silent partner.
Yeah, he cooperates, but yeah, he's more the business type guy, and I'm the coffee guy.
Yep. So I'm familiar. So I'm friends with him. So I'm kind of familiar with the story a little bit. You guys met at Cafe Fiore when you were working there. Went into wholesaling, roasting your own coffee, and then opening a retail space, Mount Baker, and now a brand new space here in West Seattle.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Would you mind kind of filling in maybe some of the gaps in that story?
2012, I had purchased and installed my own roaster. And started as wholesale only. I was working a few different service industry jobs and doing wholesale on the side, and then met Jason. And so he came in 2013. We came together and became friends and decided it was a good idea to try to put a cafe together to kind of get the brand out there and get more visibility. And then in 2014, I quit all my day jobs. We had about 15 wholesale accounts at that point.
Okay.
And then in 2015, we opened our first cafe on Mother's Day. So that's about a year and a half old now. Going super well. And then, we both live in West Seattle and knew that there was a void to be filled down at the Morgan Junction. Put this little shop together down there.
Okay. And you're still wholesaling, roasting your own coffee and all that?
Yeah, we've still got about 15. Some have rotated out. We've dropped some smaller ones and picked up some bigger ones. And we definitely still wholesale. Okay. Several West Seattle businesses specifically are some of our better customers.
Okay.
So.
You told us a little bit of a backstory about how did you kind of get into this business? I mean, obviously you're working coffee, then you decided to start roasting your own?
So I actually started as a roaster.
Okay.
In college. I worked for a coffee roaster in the shipping department, and then worked my way into being an apprentice roaster. I learned how to roast there. Then moved to Seattle, became a barista. While I was a barista, I decided I wanted to do the roasting, and that's when I scraped up some money and bought some nice used equipment. I bought the roaster, and then I couldn't find a place to install it for less than like $1,000 a month. And I didn't have $1,000 a month extra, Ended up installing it at my friend's house across in Port Orchard. He had a shop, and he allowed me to go in and install it and get it all set up. And so that allowed me to roast basically for free until I got my product to where I wanted it. Jason invested in the company. And with that, we were able to open the cafe.
Sure.
And the Mount Baker Cafe was busy from day one.
Yeah.
It's kind of just been moving along.
Yeah. Well, at the risk of putting words in Jason's mouth, why do you feel like, what caused him to get on board with what you're doing and invest?
He was my neighbor, and he gave us bicycles one time. We'd got our bicycles stolen, and he had some in storage that he didn't use, and so he offered them up. And so we drove over there and picked up the bicycles from his storage unit, and I had a bag of coffee in the seat, and I gave it to him. He just gave me some bicycles. Yeah. Here you go, man. And he texted me an hour later and like, this is good. No, this is like really good.
Yeah.
And so he was buying a bag a week for several months. And then after that, we get together. He was like, "Hey, man, like you're doing this as the side project. Do you want to actually do it?" And he believed in the product. And then also one of the things that comes up, we talk a lot. We're very close now. Yeah. And one of the things that comes up, especially recently with another cafe, and he's like, I can just tell you're the guy that will just get it done. Whatever needs to happen, you'll make it happen.
Yeah. And what do you love best about roasting, about owning a coffee shop?
It's very multifaceted. Coffee is really fun. The specialty coffee industry is really only like 25 years old.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things to be figured out, a lot of things that aren't absolutes. So there's this aspect of you get to play with things, you get to play with different coffees from different places that were processed differently.
Okay.
And then we get to play with them. I get to roast them different ways and see what happens. And then brewing is another. So there's like lots of different steps that can have enormous effects on these flavors and on this product. And that's really fun from like my nerdy brain standpoint.
Sure.
And then at the end of the day, like, it's coffee. So it's that juxtaposition of like, I can get really nerdy about this thing and I can put so much effort in, but at the end of the day, I just get to hand someone a cup of coffee and it's delicious and they go, thanks, man. Cool. Later. Like, so it's both sides of it. The beer industry has a very similar thing where even just a hobbyist beer lover can get really into like, what hops are in this, what kind of malt, what temperature did you do your wort at, like, you can do all these things. End of the day, it's still beer. It's still a thing that everyone just can have, and it's just a fun thing. So yeah. And then I've worked in the service industry in many different capacities now, really since college, and it's also fun to take care of people. We try to keep our cafes in neighborhood locations, specifically because it's really fun to be a part of a neighborhood. I've watched people get married and then get pregnant and then have a kid, and then I see that kid come in the store and be like, "Oh, what's up, Matt?" And that's really...
The kid gets their first coffee.
Yeah, it's really crazy to see this, and you become a part of people's lives. I worked at Fiore in the Admiral District for the longest amount of time. I was there 3 years, and there had people that would bring me vegetables from their garden. I had people who, they knew I had Sounders season tickets, and they'd see me working on a game day, and they'd ask to make sure, like, "Oh, do you need a ride to the stadium? We're going down there too. Like, what time are you off work? Are you gonna take the bus?" And they'd pick me up at work and take me down there, and vice versa. You see people come in and they just had a loved one die or something, and like, you're the person that they come to, and they can like, it's just a really deep connection. And so yeah, from like the nerd standpoint to the easygoing, like, enjoyable beverage to the connections you make with people. It's an awesome industry to be in. So
yeah, that community aspect's huge. I mean, especially Seattle's a big city, but all the neighborhoods have very small town feels, and there's a lot of that. People want to be regulars. They want to know the people that are serving them. The servers want to be known. There's a community there.
Exactly.
That's cool. So you kind of mentioned the you can kind of geek out on the nerdy side, essentially the chemistry behind roasting and all that. Tell us a little more about the name you picked. QED.
Okay. So I have a bachelor's degree in pure mathematics, and in mathematics, when you do a proof, you state your intent in the beginning. You say, "I want to prove that here's point A and point B, and there is a plane that intersects both of those points." And then you have to show all of your work, and you have to actually prove it. And then at the bottom, almost as a sign of formality, you write QED. Or you can draw a little square. That's the shorthand. But QED is short for Quod Erat Demonstratum. Means that which was to be proven in Latin. So it's basically a sign of completion. It's saying, we had this intent, I wanted to do this thing, I've done it now, and it is completed. So yeah, and that's kind of how I feel. I don't think of it as this is the, like, I have to clarify this because sometimes it sounds a little arrogant, but I have to clarify. I'm not saying that like, this is the best thing there is, period. I'm saying this is what we decided to show people. This is what we wanted to do with these coffees, and here it is for you, you know.
Well, to me, it seems pretty close to perfection. You guys' cold brew is pretty amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned, a little bit of history of, I guess you call it craft, coffee, right?
Yeah.
So essentially there was, Folgers, and then Starbucks kind of came on the scene, and would you say they kind of popularized the that
in a large way, yes. There's pockets across the country. We've got a lot of them. We've got examples in Seattle of places that have been making espresso, for 25 years, 30 years, and upping the game. They talk about like waves of coffee. So like, first wave of coffee was like black coffee at home. You know, second wave is more lattes, macchiato, you know, like when I think Dilettante was the first company to own an espresso machine in Seattle.
Really?
And it's a person that had been to Italy and loved it and brought, like, you know, had to go through great lengths to get a machine here.
Sure.
And bring this to Seattle. So, and then the third wave is where we start taking some of the things, you know, we started modifying our equipment to get better results. And we decided that, you know, certain things can be tasty without maybe a bunch of syrups.
Sure.
So we're in this era where the equipment is like super top notch. Our baristas are extremely knowledgeable. You know, we have like coffee at this point is a career option if you choose that to be your career.
Sure.
There are lots of places that have high turnover and they make, you know, good coffee or not good coffee or whatever, but like it's more of a job. But then like what we aim to do in what places like Stumptown and you know, Victrola aim to do is they end up with people working there for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and in doing so, the amount of knowledge they accumulate over that time is incredible.
What in your estimation kind of makes the difference between the places that may draw more the, you know, just kind of, it's just a job versus they're more invested and I don't know, maybe they're invested in the culture and the mission of what's going on there?
I think it comes down to kind of two things. You know, management, ownership needs to take care of people. You know, working in the service industry, oftentimes you can end up with bosses that don't necessarily like understand how this job affects people's lives. You know, sometimes your hours can be unreliable. You know, oh, this week I only got 4 shifts, but I really need 5 shifts because I got, you know, student loans to pay or whatnot. And just paying attention, making sure people don't get burnout, making sure they get vacations when they need them. You know, you don't get paid vacation as a barista. But being flexible and able to work with your staff and get them what they need, all like, you know, from all aspects is super important.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the engagement of knowledge. And because this is a super interesting topic and a super interesting industry to be in, if you're continually giving them things and asking questions of them and giving them tools to learn things, that is another thing that helps retain. You know, if my job is to come in, I don't have to taste the coffee. I just literally stand there and I tamp the coffee and I make the espresso and I steam the milk and I pour it in a cup and I don't, you know, and I just hand it to the person and I don't engage with my product that I'm making. That's pretty boring. I could be standing in a mill somewhere stamping license plates, or I could be, you know, it doesn't matter. But when you come in the morning and you make a pot of drip coffee and you taste it and you say, nope, that's not quite right. Let me use my knowledge and my tools to figure this out. Let me make another pot. You know, now you've given someone a problem to solve. And that's much more rewarding than just, oh, hey, put this thing in the cup and hand it to the person and take their money. Like, so the two of those, like taking care of their well-being, you know, and giving them engagement, you know, challenging them, and so yeah.
Okay. Where would you say kind of your vision for how you run things in the store? You know, I mean, what you just described. Where do you think that kind of comes from?
I've worked in some really terrible places. I've worked in some really good places.
Okay.
So when I worked at the last barista job I had, I got hired there. We had a big staff meeting and going around the circle, and the people are introducing themselves, and a lot of people that had worked there like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and to me that was astonishing. Anywhere else I had worked, maybe 2 years was kind of tops.
Yeah.
Whether it be just burnt out or whatever, but this place would let you, you know, there were musicians that worked there, and they'd go on tour for a month, and they would figure it out. They would make sure you got your month off of work, and then you'd still have your job when you got back, you'd have to kind of work your way back into the schedule. It wasn't just like, bam, like back on, 5 days a week or whatever. But yeah, I also worked at a place that didn't care about its employees. It seemed like once a month, like paychecks were late. Just kind of some of those things where you're like, you don't really care about me. And so I care about this job because the not so great place I worked had awesome coffee, and it was really fun to do that. But then the back end, you felt completely unsupported from your owners. You felt completely almost disregarded, which is silly, right? Because the coffee is the coffee. Like, the coffee is itself. But, like, really, your employees are your business. Sure. Right? Like, you need your employees to be, A, awesome, and B, happy, and those two kind of go together. Yeah. Otherwise, they're not taking care of the customers, and they're not taking care of the store, I come in all the time, and I find my employees, like, they've pulled the fridge out, and they're, like, scrubbing behind it, because they care about the place.
So it kind of sounds like, from your good and bad experiences, you kind of took your passion for detail or whatever, for both people and for coffee, try to combine those into a place that takes care of people and the clients and also cares about the coffee and tries to do a very good job on all fronts.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Often, specialty coffee shops that are in the top % of coffee in the country are not fun places to go get coffee. They're not enjoyable, and there's some pretension often. They're like, oh, like, I don't know how to order here. Like, oh, I'm going to say something wrong, and then they're going to make fun of me, kind of thing. And
use the wrong term, they roll their eyes at you.
Yep, exactly. Or if they order something that's not something that we serve, or that's trying to make people feel guilty about it, or that is something that we 100% will never tolerate. The main one is always can I get a caramel macchiato? Sure. So Starbucks back in the day decided to take the word macchiato, which means marked, which is a beverage from Italy that is espresso with just a little bit of steamed milk. Sometimes it's foamy, sometimes it's not as foamy, but it's like a 2.5 ounce beverage, 3 ounce beverage. Okay. They decided to take the word macchiato and put it on their menu as a latte that usually has flavors in it. And not everyone knows that, right? Sure. Because maybe they didn't drink coffee until they started going to Starbucks. Maybe they'd have ever been in a specialty cafe that serves traditional macchiatos. So that's something that comes up a lot, is like, can I get a caramel macchiato? And I've seen so many people in my industry, like, try to shame people for that and be like, that's not a thing, and that sucks. Sure. Dude, man wants a caramel latte. Sure. Like, what he wants. Right. And maybe if it's a regular, you can take your time and you can, like, very politely explain to him, like, oh yeah, we make traditional macchiatos. It's like 2 shots of espresso and a little bit of milk, but like, I can make you what you want, because bottom line is, what they want. Right.
You don't have to be a jerk about correcting them.
Exactly. So that's one of the things. Like, that's the thing. Is like, we're gonna make traditional macchiatos. We're gonna make traditional cappuccinos. If you come in and order a 12 ounce cappuccino from me, I know what you want. I'm not gonna be like, actually, a cappuccino is only 6 ounces, because, dude, if you want a foamy latte, awesome. Sure. I'm sure it's tasty. Yeah.
If they want to made to be feel stupid, they can go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we want to do what we believe is right with the coffee, but at the same time, we're not here to, like, govern.
Sure. It's not at the expense
the neighborhood,
of the clients. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, what would you say you find the biggest challenges to be right now in running the business?
Time. I could use another day in the week. Pretty much working 6+ days a week. But I mean, honestly, beyond that, like, it's pretty fun. Currently, that's the answer. oftentimes it's staffing. Staffing is really difficult. You have to trust people. You have to have reliable people.
Sure.
People to make good coffee.
Right. So it's just kind of an ongoing struggle.
So right now I have awesome staff. I trust everybody. Like I said, a lot of them have worked there. You know, two of them are over a year. Everyone else has been there like more than 6 months. They're all adults. There's no drama.
Sure.
You know, but sometimes that happens. You know, and that's fine. But yeah, everyone on my staff right now like works hard for each other. If someone's not feeling well, you know, this other person will come in and work on their day off if need be. You know, like so. That's I'm hugely thankful for that.
Sure. Seems
because
like
that can often be the thing that can ruin you.
Right. Seems like that'd be a kind of a rarity in the food services industry.
Yeah. When we first opened the Mount Baker shop, I didn't want to hire any full-time people because I wasn't entirely sure how it was going to go. I didn't want anyone to depend on their livelihood from this cafe. And so I just hired a bunch of part-time people. And then I said, you know what, worst comes to worst, I can cover shifts, I can work doubles, you know, whatever happens, it'll be temporary and I can just take care of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, with part-time people, a lot of those people weren't really invested in the shop and they're just showing up for 2 days a week and, you know, didn't really put the effort in. And so, yeah, now we have all full-time people, which is also awesome, by the way, is to be creating someone's entire income for the year. That feels fantastic.
Sure.
But yeah, but in doing so, now that this is their main gig, like they are invested and they want to give, you know, whatever it takes for everyone to be successful.
Yeah. What would you say that your business is known for? What sets you apart from other either other roasters or other cafes in the Seattle area?
That's a little hard to speak to because I have my own perceptions for what we're known for. What coffee-wise, what we try to do, there's kind of the traditional Seattle espresso of like Victrola, Vivace, Vita even, that's like rich and sweet and like fairly ristretto. And then there's this kind of new school of like single origin espressos that are super light roasted. They're very, very bright. They have a lot of acidic characteristics. Some people call them sour. I'm one of those people. And what we're trying to do is bridge that gap. I like to roast my coffee dark enough to caramelize sugars and bring out some of that rich maltiness that's found in like a Vivace shot.
Yep.
But I also like to sneak some African coffee in my espresso blend to give some of that brighter, interesting flavor. You know, I want the coffee to be dependable day to day. I want you to be able to come in every day and get an Americano and have it taste roughly the same. But I also want someone to come in every day and get an espresso and have it be different. You know, our blend changes up about once a month, the components of it. And sometimes the African coffee that's in it will give notes of, you know, blueberries or, you know, hibiscus or something. And sometimes it's completely different. So, but the characteristic, the base characteristics should stay the same. You know, the body should be there and the sweetness should be there and the size also. Sometimes, you know, with single origin coffees, it's really hard to get a complete beverage out of it. The reason we blend coffees is so you can take like the body from this Brazilian coffee and the flavors from this Colombian coffee and maybe the acidity from this Kenyan coffee, and you can put them all together at a certain ratio to create a well-balanced beverage. But a single origin bean can have amazing flavor or amazing body, but very rarely is it going to have the body and the acidity and the flavor and the mouthfeel that you want. So that's what we're trying to do.
And you guys do the single origin bean? Is that
we don't.
Okay,
we do a blend.
Okay.
I've done single origin espressos when they pop up, but you know, I think we've done 3 single origin espressos that have been awesome, like super great, well balanced. You know, when I was trained as a barista the first time, A doppio espresso is like this little thing, comes in a cup, and the guy that was training me was like, this is a beverage, it's 2 ounces or, maybe a little less or whatever, but like it's 2 ounces of liquid, but someone just paid you $3 for it. So it needs to be a beverage, not like a vessel or it's not a functional like, oh, let me shoot this espresso because I need caffeine. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be like an experience.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Interesting. I like to say I know about coffee, but I mean, kind of my wine. I let my wife, pick it, and she makes it, and it's amazing. And
yeah, totally.
But,
and there's a huge spectrum,
sure.
And everyone has their point where they stop caring.
Sure.
I mean,
I know good coffee when I taste it. I know coffee I don't like when I taste it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, with wine, there's definitely wines that I do not care for. Mm-hmm. But then the spectrum of wines that I am totally cool with is enormous. Yeah. That $10 and up. I'm sure. Like, heck yeah. And same with coffee. There's people that after, gas station coffee, gas station coffee is maybe not okay, but like everything else is okay.
Right.
Just for the record, I do drink gas station coffee when I'm on road trips.
Hey, it's kind of
it's a guilty pleasure. It's like, yep, this is not good, but I'm drinking it anyways.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Kind of getting into, I guess, a little more of the personal habits and strengths and whatnot. What would you say is your greatest strength?
One of the things you learn in going to college in general, and then specifically like science and mathematics, is that one of the things I took away from pure mathematics is that I can figure anything out. Given the tools at hand, I can solve a problem. And that's what pure mathematics is like. You read all these rules about these objects and about these things, and then you learn how they're related, and it'll say like, oh, like, does this thing correspond to this thing? And you have to just take the things that are in front of you, the facts and the relationships, and you have to figure that out. And in doing that and learning that like the answers are there, and getting your brain to work that way, I know that no matter what it is, I can do it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that sounds kind of arrogant, but I think it's true.
Yeah.
Like, I really do feel like if I decided to go be a realtor, that is something that's very possible for me. Sure. Granted, there's some things that I probably wouldn't be very good at, but
gotta take that stuff into account.
Yeah, totally. Like, I don't have the mind to be in the healthcare system, I don't think. Yeah. I have strengths and weaknesses as far as that goes, but as far as actually learning information and learning tasks, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an invaluable skill, or strength to have. I mean, I try to tell my 5-year-old son that, like, it's kind of a balance between, like, okay, yeah, maybe you could be the first person to go to Mars. That's probably not where I put all my eggs, but essentially, if you want it, if you try for it, you can figure it out. There's always a way,
Yep.
And I think as a small business owner, that's especially true. Like, if you don't, or if you give up, like, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you are consistently faced with problems that you have not faced before.
Right.
So it's that, like, oh, this is a thing that just happened. What are we going to do about it? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we kind of touched on it, but maybe in a more concise point, what would you say you're passionate about?
Coffee. I mean, the bean, like getting the roast right and getting the brew right. Mm-hmm. And like, it's awesome because there isn't a correct answer, but there's a best answer, right, at any given time. Mm-hmm. So, green coffee before it's roasted ages. So that's constantly changing. The atmospheric pressure, the humidity changes, which is going to affect how the roast has to happen, as well as it's going to affect how the brew has to happen. So it's really fun. And that's really what I like to throw myself at, is like, it's constantly solving problems.
Sure.
Okay, today this coffee is not tasting right. Let's fix it. So yeah.
So I mean, you've had the cafe, going about a year and a half now, 2 locations now. And what's kind of on the horizon for you guys? What's the focus?
We're picking up a few more wholesale accounts recently, which is always good and fun because, like I said, that's like low overhead, and we're poised to scale really well, actually. So that's definitely an area that we can do and we are doing and we are excited to be doing. And we are also in the works on another location that's secret. But within the next 6 months, we should have a cafe roaster that'll be really fun. It'll be bigger than our other spots. The Mount Baker Cafe and the West Seattle spot are both like really small, intimate, which is great, but it's also a little bit limiting. This new spot will have a lot more seats. And then having the roaster there as well, that's something we kind of wanted to do from the beginning.
Sure.
But it's got to be the right building and the right place for the right price.
Right.
So, we're waiting on permits currently for this space. So yeah, for me, it's fulfilling the wholesale obligations, taking care of those customers, as well as keeping the cafes happy, and then we'll begin construction probably like first of the year.
Okay.
Down there. Yeah.
You have to keep us posted. Have you back and.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be fun. Yeah. I'm really excited. So.
Do you have a favorite internet resource or application that you couldn't live without, like Evernote?
I just started using a new scheduling app called Deputy that's changed my life. Okay. Like I said, staffing is often like the nightmare of a small business owner. Okay. And it's awesome.
So scheduling like job shift scheduling.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Besides that, like the Google platform, Google Drive. Sure. Yeah, I'll be somewhere and someone will need my reseller's permit, and I can pull my phone out and open my Google Drive and email it to them immediately. It's invaluable.
Yeah. Right there with you. Do you listen to podcasts?
A couple.
Okay. Which ones? What's your favorite?
My favorite murder is 2 hilarious women who tell each other murder stories. Last Podcast on the Left is also a like weird sci-fi murdery thing. My wife got me into those too. Okay. And then my friend Alok has one called Race Invaders, which is about, gender normativity, toxic masculinity, racist things that happen. Alok is Indian descent, and the other guy, Tim, is I think Korean. So they talk about their travels. They talk about like, this is the thing that happened in the office this week, and like no one really noticed it, but it's incredibly racist. Or this is where toxic masculinity comes from, and like this is what we're teaching our children. And and it's nice because it's only about 30 minutes long.
Sure. It's kind of the sweet spot.
Because it's kind of like, and it's like some heavy stuff, but there's also jokes, and there's also like just give you a little bit of info, and then like make you think about it. And I've learned so much stuff from it. Okay.
As we wrap up here, what's one piece of parting guidance you give to our listeners? I think it's a pretty well-known saying, but I have to remind myself of it also, is just, if it was easy, everyone would do it. There's a reason that people who work a lot of long hours can oftentimes end up with more rewards. There's a lot to be said for chilling out and doing your job and going home and plugging along. Like, there's a lot of merit to that, and often I'm jealous of that. But at the same time, I'm building something really cool, and it's going to be awesome, and it already is awesome. So that's rewarding. But there are times when I've worked 10 days in a row, and then there's a gas leak, and now it's 1 a.m. and I'm on the roof with a headlamp, and it's raining, and that I'm like, what the heck did I sign up for? But yeah, it's worth it. If you have something that you're passionate about and that you want to make happen, it's going to be hard,
but it will be worth it.
Sure. Yeah, it's got kind of that classic tension between it's nice to just have a 9 to 5, you know, like you don't have to think about work outside of it, you know, it's consistent, steady, there's no real risk, you know, or you could kind of go all in and, you know, it's tons of risk, it's a lot of hard work, and you'll probably fail a few times, you know, but the potential to build something bigger in yourself and, you know,
definitely
is there. So, yeah.
I made a lot more money when I was a bartender.
Yeah.
Which has lots of drawbacks also.
Sure.
But, yeah, but we're building something.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's more important.
Right. Yeah. So what would you like to tell our listeners about, you know, if they want to know more about your business, how to, you know, get a hold of some of your great coffee or visit one of your shops?
Oh, yeah. So the Mount Baker location is the original. It's up on 31st Avenue, up on the Mount Baker Ridge. We're open like 6 to 6. You know, traditional cafe fare, sandwiches, drinks, beer and wine, actually. And then the West Seattle location is more of a morning spot. We're doing, you know, pastries and coffees and tea, and we've got about 7 seats. It's pretty cozy, and we're tucked in there. It's kind of nice.
Sure.
We're sharing the space with Harry's Fried Chicken Joint. So it's at 6032 California Avenue.
Okay, so like you guys are there in the morning, they're there in the evenings? Okay.
Yeah, so he's only open 4 days a week from 4 to 8.
Okay.
And then we're there 7 days a week, 6 to 2 on the weekdays, and then 7 to 3 on the weekends.
Gotcha. Okay, so hence the full kitchen in the space. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, it's fun. It doesn't normally smell like fried chicken in there when we're in there.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of nice. It doesn't smell gross. It smells like this nice, like...
Sure, they make some tasty fried chicken.
They make really tasty fried chicken. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Matt, thanks for taking time out of your busy entrepreneurial day.
Yeah, and, thank you much.
Yeah, sharing your story with us is very, very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you again.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Cool.
Cool. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of the C-Town Podcast. Make sure to check out our guest website, support what they're doing, and show them some love. If you liked what you heard on this podcast, let us know by writing us a very nice 5-star review on iTunes and subscribing. If you want to hear more episodes or find out more about the podcast, you can go to our website at ctownpodcast.com. That's SEA-townpodcast.com. You can also find out more about me and other projects I'm working on by visiting ctown.com. Today's intro and outro music is courtesy of the Fascination Movement. You can find their albums in the iTunes store. The C-Town Podcast creator and host is Christian Harris. This has been a C-Town Media production.